The Pokemon franchise is built upon the idea that every Pokemon is unique. When you catch a Pokemon, it will have a combination of nature, ability, and IVs that set it apart from its peers. You can customize its moveset, its held item, its EV spreads, and much more. So we might think that the number of possible options for Pikachu is infinite. But is it? Join me as we try to find out how many Pikachus are possible. We are starting off with one Pikachu. Now we have to lay down some ground rules so that we're on the same page about what counts as a unique Pikachu. Rule number 1 is that the Pokemon we put into the team builder must be a Pikachu. My heartfelt apologies to Pichu, Raichu, Mimikyu, Blue Pikachu, Pachirisu, etc. Rule 2. The set that we make has to be legal in Scarlet and Violet. So we're only looking at Gen 9, and we're not going to include sets that you could hack into the game, but not catch naturally. So no maxing out every single EV, no giving it illegal moves, etc. Rule 3. We are only going to be considering differences that affect battle. There are lots of things that can differ between Pikachus that have no impact at all on the battle. For example, is it a shiny? Does it have a mark? Where did you catch it? Does it have any ribbons? What's the trainer OT? What's the Pokemon ID? Have you given it a really edgy nickname? All of these would make a different Pikachu, but they wouldn't change how it does in battle. We're going to discount any psychological effects. So yeah, maybe you could get an edge if you gave your Pikachu a really vile name so that your opponent was kind of mentally shaken and went on tilt. But we're not going to be considering psychological warfare in this video. What we don't care about is viability. So most of these Pikachu are going to be like objectively worse or nearly objectively worse than a meta set. However, we're only looking for differences. We're not looking for the best one. We're just looking for if it's slightly different. Importantly, the differences don't have to affect every battle. In fact, they don't even have to affect most. All we have to do to decide a Pikachu is unique is to conceive of one single possible battle circumstance, no matter how unlikely, no matter how minor, that would set the Pikachu apart from every other Pikachu. Okay, with the rules laid, let's start counting. Here's an easy one. Abilities. Pikachu has 2 abilities, Lightning Rod and Static. Very clearly, you can imagine a difference between having Lightning Rod and having Static. For example, if your opponent used an Electric type move on you, or if they hit you with a physical move, then those 2 abilities would diverge. So we can comfortably multiply our Pikachu count by 2. There are 2 possible Pikachus. Here they are. Hooray, this is easy so far. How many moves can Pikachu learn? Well, in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it learns 17 Electric-type moves, here they are listed, and 50 coverage moves, moves that aren't Electric-type, giving it a total of 67 moves in its move pool. There is one move on here that I want to talk about quickly, which is Celebrate. Celebrate has no effect in battle at all, it just doesn't do anything. You used to be able to use it with a Z Crystal and do Z Celebrate, and that did something. But as it is, Celebrate just fizzles. No effect. However, we're still counting it as a unique move because in the situation where you've run out of PP on your other moves, having Celebrate is very, very different from having no move at all. Because if you have no move at all, you'll start struggling. And if you have Celebrate, you get like 40 turns to sit there celebrating. And it's different to all the other moves because they would actually do something. So, 67 unique moves. Amazing, and we can multiply 2 by 67, right? No, unfortunately, there are 67 options for a single move slot, but Pokemon get 4 move slots. So, let's add some more in, shall we? With 2 move slots, the formula is 67 exclamation mark divided by 65 exclamation mark times 2 exclamation mark. What does the exclamation mark mean? Well, that means that you add all the numbers that are lower than the number to the total. So 67 exclamation mark is 67 plus 66 plus 65 plus 64, all the way down to 0. When you do the math, run the calculation, you end up with the number 2,210. So with 2 move slots, that's how many options we have. With 3 move slots, we have 47,904 different combinations. And with 4 move slots, we have 766,479 options. Now, what does that mean for the number of total possible moves? Well, you can choose how many moves your Pikachu has. It can't have 0, but it can have 1, 2, 3, or 4. All we have to do is do 67 plus 2,210 plus 47,904 plus 766,479 to get 816,660. And of course, we already had 2, so we multiply that by 2 to get a total Pikachu counter of 1,633,320. Whew, okay. Well, already that's a lot of Pikachus, but we're only just getting started. Here's another quick one. There are 2 genders available in Pokemon, and they do have meaningful battle differences because of moves like Attract and because of abilities like Rivalry. So, Again, we multiply our Pikachus by 2. 3.2 million Pikachus. What's next? Gen 9 has given us an extra multiplier, and that is Terra-type. With the addition of Terastal, there are 19 available Terra-types. They all have a battle effect, so we need to multiply our Pikachu counter by 19, giving us 62,066,160 Pikachus. Okay, that's quite a few, but there's still a few more things to go. Let's have a look at items. So it's important here to clarify what exactly a unique item is. Some cases are pretty obvious. For example, Choice Band is definitely unique from Choice Scarf. They have different effects, and they're unique from all the other items. There aren't really any other items that do anything like what these two do. There are also some cases on the other extreme. So if your Pikachu is holding a Pokeball that is identical in every possible scenario to holding a Great Ball, the only difference between the two is their multiplier you get when you try to catch a Pokemon with them, and there are currently no moves in the game that interact with that mechanic. But okay, here's an interesting question. Are Mystic Water and Splash Plate the same? They both have the same effect, that is to multiply the damage of water-type moves by 20%. However, Splash Plate also has the feature of transforming Arceus into water-type Arceus, but Pikachu's not an Arceus, so is that meaningful? Well, the answer is, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Let's continue to find out why. Let's go through all the available items in Pokemon. I've broken them down into vague categories. First, we have 18 type boosting items, so each of these boosts the damage of a different type of move. We have 14 offensive items. This is a vague category. Some of these are much better than other ones, but 14 offensive-ish items. 21 defensive-ish items. I guess Floatstone is a defensive item because it reduces incoming low kick damage. I don't think that item's ever going to see any use at all, but it's unique. 20 consumable items. Now, a few of these Pikachu can't use. So for example, Booster Energy doesn't do anything if held by a Pikachu. However, enemy Pokemon can use Trick on Pikachu to gain it. So if an enemy Paradox Pokemon swaps items with Pikachu, gains the Booster Energy, that will have a unique effect compared to swapping items with a Pikachu that doesn't have a Booster Energy. So we're counting it as unique. Same goes for any of these other items. So a Pikachu that has a Power Herb, but no items that Power Herb boosts, is still unique because the enemy could use Trick on it and then activate the Power Herb. This is actually kind of nice for us mathematically, because it means we don't have to subdivide all the possible Pikachu movesets into groups that interact with different items. We can just say, well, the enemy could take it and use it, so it's different, so it's unique. Amazing. We also have 7 items which negatively impact your Pokemon. Ring Target is not doing anything unless we Terra Flying, or it gets tricked onto the enemy. We have 9 items that interact with the field, so we have the 4 Terrain Seeds, the 4 Weather Rocks, and Light Clay, and we have the berries. Now there are some berries that don't have a battle effect, so Blackberries, Raspberries don't do anything, and Kelpsie Berries, Pomeg Berries just mess with your EVs and your happiness, which doesn't do anything in battle. So we're not going to count those. If you count all the berries that have an effect, you get 46. Okay, so why have I put 47? Well, the answer is that if you have a Pokemon that knows Stuffed Cheeks, so a Squavit or a Lechonk, you can use Stuffed Cheeks with a berry that doesn't do anything to activate Stuffed Cheeks and get the defense boost. But that is unique because that berry can't ever activate otherwise. So we're going to count one of the berries that doesn't do anything as a real berry, go up to 47 and say, cool, there are 47 berries. We also have the Light Ball. So the Light Ball is unique to Pikachu, and it's going to do something very unique in this case. Even if we weren't using Pikachu, it would still be unique. And that's because of Fling. Light Ball has a special effect with Fling, where if you fling it, it'll paralyze the enemy. So it doesn't matter who we're using, it's unique. Other items with unique effects for non-Pikachu Pokemon, like Wellspring Mask, Grisius Orb, etc., they go into the category of does nothing, but can't be tricked. Okay, let's now address some of the duplicate items. So, first of all, coming back to the plates. I said earlier that it didn't matter how the plates interacted with Arceus and Trick, and that's because when you use Fling holding a plate, it has a base power of 90. Now, the other type boosting items have a range of different possible Fling values, but none of them are 90. So, in fact, because of Fling, all of the plates are unique. And of course, even if your Pikachu doesn't know Fling, the enemy could use Trick or Switcheroo to steal the plate and then fling it at you. So you might be fighting a Sneasler, it learns both of those moves, it could steal your plate and then fling it. and it would do more damage that way than if it flung the equivalent non-plate boosting item. So, 18 more unique items. Next up, we have the power items. The main thing I want to point out here is how infuriating it is that the power lens has a different sprite to the other ones. I don't like this. I understand that maybe it's different because there were only 5 stats in the beginning and they split special, but isn't it just horrible? Like, all the other ones are so nice and similar, and then the power lens is just there, like, on the floor. I don't know, it's definitely the ugly duckling of the family. Anyway, they all have the same effect as Iron Ball, but again, they have a different fling damage value. So, we're going to count them as one unique item. They all have the same fling damage as each other, but they're different from Iron Ball. So, one extra unique item. Next, we have the Razor Claw and the Razor Fang. Razor Claw is the one that boosts your critical hit rate, and it is exactly identical to Scope Lens. They have the same fling value, they do the same thing, they're identical, so it's not a unique item. However, the Razor Fang, which has the same effect as King's Rock, is unique because not only does it have a different fling damage value, it actually has a unique effect with fling, where it flinches. It kind of turns fling into a one-use fake-out. It's unique. We get one extra unique item from them. Next we have the incenses. All of these share effects with other items. In fact, 2 of them, the Sea Incense and the Wave Incense, have the same effect as each other. The only difference at all between them being one of them lets you breed a Mantike and the other one lets you breed a Wynot. In total, 4 of them have different fling damage values to their corresponding normal items, so there are 4 unique incenses. And then we have a range of items that have no battle effect at all. However, they're still different in the amount of damage they do with fling, or in which Pokemon they can be tricked or not tricked onto. For example, if you fling a sausage, the base power will be 10. If you fling a big nugget, the base power is 140. All in all, from these items, we get 8 unique options. And finally, we have the actual nothing options. These are items that don't do anything in battle, and all of the nonsense interactions they have with fling and trick are already accounted for. So, how many items is that in total? 177 unique items. However, I'm pretty sure that I've missed something, because there's so many weird mechanics in Pokemon. I feel like there's probably actually a few more than this. If you know of any extra item interactions that I've forgotten, or you just think I've overlooked something, let me know in the comments, because I probably have, but I'm going insane. So we're going to say it's 177. But this is the first time in the video we're introducing a bit of a margin of error, I would say, into the total calculation. What do we get when we multiply 62 million by 177? 109,236,644,160. Okay, that's a lot of Pikachus, right? Don't worry, we're almost done. However, you probably should actually worry, because we haven't even done the most complicated part. No, for all that we've gone through, the hardest part is still to come. We've got to look at stats. I'm going to break this down into different bits, because there's a lot going on here. There are 3 basic components to a Pokemon stat spread. The first is their base stats. Here's Pikachu's. It has 320 BST, with pretty bad values in everything except for speed. It's not a final stage Pokemon, we don't expect much of it, but I mean it's pretty garbage. But thankfully, we can't change its base stats. They are static, so they don't add to the Pikachu counter. Whew, wonderful. Next, we have IVs. For each stat, our Pikachu will have a value between 0 and 31. So there are 32 possibilities, and they are independent for each of the 6 stats. And then we have EVs, similar to IVs, but for each stat we have 252 rather than 32 to distribute. However, EVs only have effects in multiples of 4. 252 divided by 4 is 66, so there are 66 times 6 permutations. What all that gives us is a range of values for each stat that looks like this. You can see that the difference between the lowest possible value and the highest possible value is always 94, because that's how many you can possibly add with EVs and IVs. Okay, wonderful. All we have to do, right, is multiply our Pikachu counter by 94 to the power of 6, right? one for each stat, so that would be about 690 billion. Well, yes, but actually no, because there are a large number of possible stats that fall within the ranges but are deeply illegal. And that's because of the two rules that constrain EV distribution. The first rule is that for each stat, the most you can improve it by with EVs is plus 63. The second rule is that you can only add a total of 127 stat points with EVs, and that is because you have 508 to distribute. So the number of possible stat spreads for Pikachu is much lower than 690 billion, which is nice from a keeping our Pikachu count low perspective, but it's difficult from a mathematical one. However, it's solvable. Let me show you the equation. This is a combinatorics equation. It might look like gibberish to you if you're not a mathematician. I'm not a mathematician, and it basically looks like gibberish to me, but I know how to read on Stack Exchange, and I know how to use Python, so I managed to kind of muddle my way through it and write a piece of code to do the math for me. Now, this is a generalized formula. We're going to have to put in our particular values, but when we do that, we get the number 246,774,528. That is how many unique Pikachu spreads there are. Okay, guys, we've done it. We've done it. When we do the next multiplication, we get 26 quintillion, 956 quadrillion, 821 trillion Pikachus. That's a lot of Pikachus. That's an incomprehensibly large number of Pikachus. Now, this is the number that I've put on the thumbnail, and that's because from here on out, I don't have the mathematical knowledge or the computational power to give you an actual number. And this is already rounded, right? Rounded to the nearest trillion. But the margin of error is going to get much, much higher. If you in the audience want to make a debunking video to show why I'm slightly wrong, feel free, because I would love a more accurate answer. But we're going to keep going. It's just going to get a bit sketchy from here on out. We have to address level. All of these stat calculations have been done assuming we're level 100. But we don't have to be level 100, right? We could bring a level 17 Pikachu into battle, and it would have different stats. Okay, yes, that's true. Rather than running this whole process 100 times, I'm just going to multiply by 50. Now, there's a few reasons. It's important to qualify that a level 99 Pikachu and a level 100 Pikachu can have the same stats, right? You could put more EV than IVs into the level 99 Pikachu and it would have the same stats as the level 100 Pikachu. However, those two Pikachus, despite having identical stats, are unique in battle for a couple of reasons. The first is there are some moves that interact with level, so one-hit KO moves have higher accuracy the greater the difference is between your level and your target's level. And also because level itself is entered into the damage calculation formula. So a higher level Pokemon will deal more damage with the same stats. That's just how damage is calculated in Pokemon. So we're treating each level as totally distinct, and the reason we're multiplying by 50 is I expect the number of possible spreads to decrease about proportionally with the level. So at level 50, I'm expecting that you have half as many stat spreads as you would at level 100, and that's because at level 50, IVs and EVs are half as effective. So it takes 8 EVs to go up a stat instead of 4, and you get 16 stats rather than 31 from IVs. Now, if that is the relationship, which I haven't verified, but it seems true to me, but you can tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, then we should be able to increase our Pikachu counter by the average level. The average level is 50, it's halfway between 1 and 100, so we're just going to multiply our Pikachu counter by 50 and accept that we may be introducing some error, giving us 1,347 quintillion, 841 quadrillion, 100 trillion Pikachus. And that could be our final answer. And wouldn't it be nice if it was? But there's something that I've neglected to mention so far. Nature. Trying to calculate how nature affects the Pikachu counter took me longer than the entire rest of this video combined. It's really, really complicated, and I wanted to do it. The reason it's complicated is because nature is going to apply a transformation to the stats of each Pikachu in the Pikachu counter. That is to say, for every possible stat spread that we've gone over, we have to transform it into a new stat spread and then check if it's the same as a stat spread we already have. The way nature works is you choose one stat, and after every other calculation, you multiply it by 1.1. And then you choose a second stat, and you multiply that stat by 0.9. The reason this is so hard to calculate is that we have billions of potential Pikachus, and we have to apply the transformation to each one individually. I wrote a script to try to brute force it. Now, I'm pretty sure there's an elegant mathematical way you could calculate this, but I don't know enough about combinatorics to answer it. If you do, please let me know. You could probably make a much more elegant video than me. I can't do it. I wrote a program to try to brute force it, and then realized that I would be waiting for billions of years for it to finish running, so I gave up on that. I then tried to look around the internet to try to figure out if I could find a nice Python script that I could write to sort it out. I tried to talk to DeepSeek, the new AI, and DeepSeek was kind of helpful, and it gave me a script that was also going to take me thousands of years to run, and so that didn't work. I tried to write a script that would estimate it, like just give me a kind of a guess, but I didn't really know how to do that, so that didn't work. They all kind of looked like this. This is a script. This, I think, was one that DeepSeek tried to help me with. Now, I think that because DeepSeek has actually annotated it, which I didn't do because I'm a bad computer programmer. So, yeah, I spent all day trying to figure out how nature affects the Pikachu counter, and in the end, I gave up. There are a few things that we can say, though. The first is, well, there are 21 unique natures, so couldn't we just multiply the Pikachu counter by 21? No. The answer to that is, of course, that most of the spreads you get from a given nature are going to just be spreads we've already got, because we've got so many different variables in place. In order for it to be unique, it has to either go below the minimum with the negative nature or above the maximum with the positive nature. And that is very possible, but how often is it true? How often does that happen? I'm not sure. What we do have here is an upper bound. So the number of possible Pikachus is less than 21. If every nature was totally unique, then we would multiply the Pikachu counter by 21 and be happy, but they're not. So instead, we just say, well, it's somewhere between 1 sexillion and 20 sexillion. Great. But then I thought, wait, no, maybe it is 21, because natures have another effect. They change which flavor of berry your Pokemon doesn't like, which means that if you eat that berry, or that berry gets flung at you, you'll get confused. So maybe Pokemon with the same stat spreads but different natures are actually distinct, and we can just say multiply by 21. But no, because of the mint mechanic that was added in Gen 8, when you give a Pokemon a mint, it changes the stats, but not the flavor preference. What this means is that you can have a Pokemon with any stat spread and any flavor preference combination. So, what we actually need to do is multiply the Pikachu counter by 6, because there are 6 different flavor preferences, and they are all unique. Okay, so that's cool, but that actually has nothing to do with the question of stats, right? It just turns out that there are 6 different unique types of flavor preferences a Pikachu can have. When I started making this video, I didn't expect that culinary taste was going to be a critical part of the video, but it is. Okay, we multiply by 6, but then what do we do about natures? We're just going to say that this is the final Pikachu count, but bear in mind, it could be as much as 20 times higher or as little as like 1.1 times higher. So, the final Pikachu counter, the best answer I can give you is a number greater than 8 sextillion, 87 quintillion, 46 quadrillion, 300 trillion Pikachus. So I'm looking forward to you guys trying out each one of these on Pokemon Showdown. Report back and tell me which one you like best. It'll take you probably for the rest of the lifetime of the universe to achieve that task, but I think it'll really be worth it because you'll have such a deep and thorough understanding of the power of Pikachu once you're done. If you do that, if you achieve that goal, I will personally donate $8 sextillion to your charity of choice. I swear that. It's a solemn vow. I won't break it for anything. However, if I'm dead, I'm going to struggle to do it. It's not going to be because I don't want to. It's just that I won't be kind of ambulatory or functional or wealthy if I'm dead or buried or I don't know. I always kind of thought it would be good to get eaten by worms, like when you die. That's kind of my running plan, or to drown in a tar pit. Anyway, that's neither here or there until one of you achieves the goal. So let's wrap all the way back around to the initial rules. Remember when I excluded psychological factors? Well, technically that was kind of an unjust exclusion, right? Like if you name your Pikachu, you're lame and I hate you and your team sucks, maybe that would actually change the battle. And so we should consider all possible nicknames. Shininess also could have a psychological impact. If your opponent sees a shiny, they might be so intimidated that they throw the game. I think that if anyone wants to make a follow-up video titled "How Many Pikachus Are Really Possible?", please feel free. I would love to watch it. I might be the only one in the world who would love to watch it, but I would love to watch it. Where you could cover things like shininess, every possible nickname. So you'd have to go through every character that you could enter into Pokemon Showdown, and then multiply that, or I guess onto the game cart. The game cart would be more generous because I think Smogon allows non-standard characters. Maybe stick with the game for your own sanity. Anyway, and multiply that by the number of characters you have, which is 12. And then you could also have a look at other gens. So we've only looked at Gen 9, but there's like 30 years of Pikachus available. You know, Pokemon came out a long, long time ago, and there's just so many more numbers to explore, so many more multipliers you could add. You could even, if you're a kind of deranged menace, look at things that you literally can't see in battle. If you want to look at trainer ID or you want to look at ribbons, go for it. I would love to watch the video, but my mind is broken. This has shown me the limits of my capacity. Yeah. So once again, about 8 sextillion Pikachus, give or take a few hundred quintillion. Those are real numbers. I'm not like making these up. That's actually what they're called. I know. Yeah. So I don't know. This video's kind of petered out, but it feels appropriate. I think just a descent into madness. If you want, you can subscribe to the channel. I'll probably make more videos. Well, I don't know if I'll make more videos like this. This one's a bit manic, but I'll make more videos about Pokemon. I have been posting kind of like sciencey videos, but I think I'm going to split that off into a separate channel. This one I'm just going to keep for the Pokemon. I've got a draft league starting up, like in the next couple of days. I'm going to post videos about that, hopefully. But I am pretty busy because I'm looking at a lot of wasps for my master's degree. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to make weekly videos. I want to, but it's a lot of work, and I'm really busy. Anyway, subscribe if you want to see those. If you don't, and in fact this video has sort of driven you to the brink of madness, that's okay. I'm deeply sorry. But thank you for watching. It's great. I'll see ya, or I won't. Bye.